Happy to welcome Jeff Skin Wade from 105.3 The Fan and the Mavericks television broadcast into the open mic tonight. So the Mavs bring Melo in on Wednesday. The Rockets and Bulls made a big public display out of it with huge banners on the arenas and things like that. Mavs very low-key. They hid him from the media, in fact. What do you make of that strategy for Mark Cuban?
Well, you know, I would only make of that strategy that it's the way to go if that's what Carmelo wants. I really don't know what appeals to Carmelo in that sense. I do know that the second the Mavericks didn't offer him max money from what he could earn, I discounted the Mavericks' chances. I felt like all along, you know, the Mavericks had a shot because I thought they'd get enough wiggle room to offer him the max, which I didn't think Chicago or Houston could do. If he was going to leave New York, it would have to be for the max. It would have to be a really compelling situation. And now if you look at it, the Lakers are the only non-Knicks team that can offer him the max, so they're still in the mix. But you have to realize his wife is a star in New York. She's from Brooklyn. And you know this, Deuce, if you're going to go home to the wife and go, honey, I'm going to move you somewhere you don't want to go for less money, that's not going to fly. If the Mavericks had positioned themselves to offer him max money, I thought they had a chance. When we learned that they weren't really able to offer that, I think they're out of the
So
mix.
It's the third straight year that apparently the Mavs will whiff on a big free agent.
Right.
Why is this seemingly chronic with this franchise, or is it just a matter of specific circumstances each and every year where it just doesn't happen to work out?
I think in general, the big star is not going to leave his own team because he's going to have to take less money to do it. In circumstances, he may do it if his team's not competitive, or if he gets to go to an L.A. or a New York or even a Miami, which isn't a huge media market, but obviously people love Miami. It's glitzy and glamorous. I think the guy to break the mold on that was Dwight Howard. So Houston and Dallas, you know, we always are arguing what's the better city, and obviously Dwight chose Houston. But in general, you know, the big star is not going to leave his team because you're going to ask him to take less money to do it, fewer years to do it. So, you know, it doesn't really surprise me. I thought they had a low percentage chance to do it, but I liked them more than Chicago or Houston in these circumstances.
So without Melo, again, we assume Luol Deng, the target now for the Mavs primarily?
I think Deng is definitely a target. I personally think Trevor Ariza is a better fit for this team because I think they need to sort of replace Sean Marion with a guy that can shoot. I think he's a better catch-and-shoot guy than Deng. He's a more versatile defender than Deng. Deng is certainly the better all-around player. I think the Mavericks, if they're going to overpay one of those guys in a market where small forwards and guards are getting overpaid, I think they're more likely to overpay Deng than they are Ariza.
Dirk agrees to that 3-year deal, reportedly for $30 million, and is being praised for being unselfish because certainly could have gotten more. You need to appreciate a guy like this when you've got him in many different ways, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think people are probably sick of hearing me talk about how much I love Dirk because, you know, that's a regular staple of the Ben and Skin show. We worship at the altar of Dirk. But, you know, I think there's really, it's come down to me to three guys that sort of define their generation of basketball. And it's Dirk, it's Duncan, and Kobe. I think those three guys, they've all been with their team, only their team, for about the same amount of time. And it's interesting to me that Dirk and Duncan took way less than market value for their teams to stay competitive.
And how about Kobe's?
Kobe's coming off an Achilles injury. He played like 8 games last year. He's like, yeah, $25 million sounds good to me. I mean, San Antonio's lucky to have Duncan. We're lucky to have Dirk, and it's a beautiful thing. I mean, those guys come along literally once every 25
really, you
years.
look to take it beyond that on that I-35 corridor with Dirk and Duncan and Durant, obviously much earlier in his career. But yeah, all three franchises lucky there. Mavs do get the Devin Harris deal done back for $9 million over 3 years. What is the ideal point guard situation for this club now that Harris is back in the fold? What do you think the Mavs want to see happen there?
I think they want to be able to trade for a better point guard than Ray Felton. I don't know that they're going to be able to. Keep in mind, you know, Calderon leaves in the Tyson Chandler deal. Calderon's real value was as a shooter, a guy who could spread the floor. Right now, behind Dirk, the team's really their second best shooter is Jay Crowder. This is suddenly a team that was stellar offensively that is dying for outside shooting right now. So Ray Felton has never been a great outside shooter. It's nice to have Devin back. He's a good defensive player. He was good in the playoffs, but he's not a great outside shooter. I think ideally they would like to find a point guard that can really shoot the three ball and really spread the floor, especially since Monte's such a good creator out of pick and roll situations. I think they may be okay with Mo Williams. who's kind of a journeyman at this point, but he lives in the area. They could get him on the cheap. I just don't think Ray Felton's a good fit for what the rest of this roster looks like right now.
LeBron James' agent met with several teams, including reportedly the Mavericks. ESPN's Chris Broussard tonight now has Cleveland as his top pick, the top landing spot for LeBron over Miami. First, your reaction to that? We'd all assumed, I had anyway, that it's just a matter of time before LeBron goes back to the Heat. But Broussard's saying he thinks Cleveland leads in those sweepstakes. Right?
I mean, I think it's a great story because I think it'll be fun to see him go back there, and they've got some good young players. I really am shocked that when Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and LeBron and even Udonis Haslem, which wasn't talked about but I think was the most shocking, all opted out of their contracts. I think we all assumed that, you know, they had something in place and they knew what the plan was. The fact that those four guys opted out and weren't on the same page with how to rebuild Miami is shocking and really mind-blowing, and I think it puts LeBron in a position to go other places. I mean, Dwayne Wade can't go on the open market and get in 2 years at $42 million, which is what was due to him. This is a really amazing sports story if the way this is unfolding is true, and LeBron's going to go somewhere else. Miami went from the pinnacle of sports to crashing down quickly, and then I think you may look at a guy like Bosh to maybe leave, maybe even end up in Houston and get max money there to play with a good squad. It's a pretty stunning development.